Meeting will come to order. We welcome all of our guests. We have a full house of state champions this evening, probably more than we've ever had before. So welcome to everyone. Tonight, leading us in our Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem will be the 2015 Tennessee All-State Choir. After they complete the National Anthem, Ms. Gregory, you'll see that they introduce themselves and what school they're representing. Good. Okay. You'll join us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you all so much. These students from Rutherford County are 22 representatives of the 34 students countywide who made the Tennessee All-State Choir this year. And I don't think there's any county in Tennessee that has probably that many. So we are so proud of these guys and their directors. We're going to have the students introduce themselves to you at this time and tell you what school they're from, starting with this lady in the front.
My name is Natalie Babby, and I'm from Seabolt.
I'm Cheyenne Gibson, and I'm from Blackman.
Talia Bosnott from Riverdale.
I'm Ellen Robertson, I'm from Siegel.
I'm Hannah Collins, I'm from Central Magnet.
I'm Kelsey Goodwin, I'm from Siegel.
I'm Aspen Thomas, and I'm from Siegel.
I'm Tori Peterson, and I'm from Siegel.
I'm Rachel Woods, and I'm from Central Magnet School.
I'm Juliana Fernandez, and I'm from Smyrna.
I'm Perry Watson, I go to Riverdale High School.
I'm Mia Morris, I'm from Blackman High School.
I'm Zachary Richardson, I'm from Siegel High School.
I'm Walt Chitwood, and I'm from Siegel High School. I'm Joseph Reynolds, and I'm from Siegel High School.
I'm Brandon Ruiz, and I'm from Steers Creek High School.
I'm Alex Butcherfield from Smyrna High School.
Andrew Dodge from Blackman High School.
I'm Adrian Fitzwater from Blackman High School.
I'm Kate McCarthy from Siegel High School.
I'm Dalton Tracy from Central Magnet School.
I'm Nicholas True from Riverdale High School.
There they are, ladies and gentlemen. Patrol directors who teach these students every day here, and so I'd like to recognize them. Back in the back, please, we have Ms. Dawn Crump from Smyrna High School. Ms. Brenda Williams from Riverdale High School. Ms. Wendy Payne from Siegel High School. And Mr. David Winton from Central Magnet School. If there are any administrators from our schools here, could you please stand, and we'd like to recognize you and thank you for being here today. On behalf of all of us, I would like to, I'm so sorry, I just want to thank you all for having us I want to thank all the administrators here for your support of music education in your individual schools, as well as the board and the superintendent, Ono, for his support of music education here in Rutherford County. It's a very, very important part of these kids' lives, and we want to keep it strong. Thank you.
And thank you for being here and putting together this group. We would never have dreamed that they were not together for years with the way that, as beautifully as they sang. Also would like to thank you and the Siegel Choir for performing at the National School Boards Conference in Nashville. Just an outstanding job, and thank you for putting this together.
The best sounds from this.
Yes, yes. Outstanding performance. Ms. Gregory, again, thank you so much. They were wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, now if you would join the board in a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, we'll start with approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Young, Ms. Moore, any questions or comments, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Holliday and Mr. Jordan, any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next is visitors, and we have one, and Ms. Tammy Behrens, and you've been here before, so I don't guess I have to give you any instructions, and I think you know the time limit, so.
I do. I'll try to be brief. I know there's a lot going on
Pleased to
tonight.
have you, and thank you.
I've got a couple handouts, or at least one handout, if y'all don't mind.
Thank you.
I'm good to see you. Thank you.
I came to talk about testing tonight. Since we have probably a couple of teachers in the group, this might be interesting for them to know. My son is in the 8th grade at Stewart's Creek, and there's a lot going on in the internet and Facebook about over testing. So I thought I would just do a little quick research of what my son's been doing. And luckily we have iNow that has all the grades. So I went back and through the calendar and counted the days from August 6th to April 16th and took all of the holidays out. We have 147 days. We have about 5 half days with early dismissal. I counted 61 benchmark or assessment tests on his iNow for 4 subjects: science, math, language arts, and social studies. That did not include quizzes or tests. I just counted the benchmarks. My math is 88 days of teaching, and we still have about 6 weeks, roughly 6 weeks left. And on the way down here, I kind of went, oh, I forgot the 9 days that we had for snow days. So we even have less days So it would be about 79 days that we've had no testing, technically, if you just want to do the assessments and the benchmarks. So I've got a couple of copies if y'all want to look at his grades, what we're doing. I think there is something to be said about all the tests that are going on and how many days are we teaching versus testing. So I think if you look at the website, there's actually 11 tests that all the children get. In those days, I haven't included our TCAPs for the testing. I haven't included the TCAPs preparation where they do the workbooks. It didn't include the ACT Explorer, which the 8th grade took this year. It didn't include the social studies field test. So I think we have a lot, and maybe something y'all want to look into, and I think our kids would benefit from it, and I think our teachers would love it, because I know they want to teach. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Odom?
The benchmark assessments, some of those are probably what we call common formative assessments. And what we're telling teachers to do is they do a standard or a skill. So they do it. We're asking them, don't even take the whole class period. Very often there are 3 to 5 questions or something like that. Students take that, and then that gives feedback to the teacher. Does it need to be retaught? What students may need to go to interventions and that sort of thing. But there are a couple of, the only 2 benchmark from a district is one, well, we just won in December this year. We only did one of those in December. So the others would be kind of up to the school and the teachers that do that in those particular subjects. But part of it's what's called a common formative assessment. And common formative assessment would be where all of the 8th grade math teachers got together and came up with an assessment. They would give it to all those 8th grade math students. They then meet back together, look at the test results from those tests and see what skills were the most problematic for the students. They will then often take the students in the schools, the middle schools, elementary, high schools have designed intervention periods or times that they do. Then they would take the students who might not have mastered that skill or that information, and then they would place them in an intervention with one of the teachers that would intervene on that particular skill. No longer do we basically used to, you would, if a student didn't pass it with the old thing we laugh about, sometimes you'd reteach it louder and longer or something, but it's really skill-based now. You go back and you look and see if it's a fluency issue with a student in elementary school. If it were student having trouble in, say, algebra or something, we're having trouble with exponents, you might teach that little exponents during that intervention period. So I think you're going to be pleased. We're looking at some of the preliminary things this year with our new intervention and coaches in the schools, and there's been some kids that have really made remarkable improvements. So it'll be interesting to see at the end of this year. But when you say 61 benchmark assessments, that might be 20 minutes of one class period on that day. I mean, it looks like it's a day, but it's not a day test. It would just be for that subject area of that class period, a common formative assessment.
All right. We'll move on to recognizing some more state champions. We had 2 wrestling state champions that we recognized at our last meeting, and then we have 2 more tonight, and one of those is a back-to-back champion too.
Familiar faces, right?
Yes, very familiar faces. So we're going to call on the coach from Riverdale.
Mr. Tackett, does he want to introduce them? He talked about doing that.
Are the wrestling coaches here tonight? Okay.
Yes. Come, if you don't mind, come up and let you, because
you get to be on television.
Can I stand here, sir?
Please.
All right. Thank you to the board for recognizing the 2 student athletes from Riverdale High School. I'd like to introduce them right now, Sean Kennedy and Nick Boykin. While these gentlemen are coming up, just to kind of give a quick rundown of their success. Sean is a senior, 4-year letterman. He's a 4-time state qualifier, a 3-time region champ. He's a 3-time state placer, He's a two-time undefeated back-to-back state champion. He's a three-time All-American. He's voted most outstanding wrestler 3 of the 4 tournaments that we wrestled this year. And to cap off, his career record is 155-12. So Sean is definitely going to go to college and wrestle, but he still has plenty of options out there. So Sean Kennedy. Next we have Nick Boykin. Nick is a sophomore this year. He's a 2-time state qualifier. He's the region champion for 2015. He's a 2-time state placer, and he is the 2015 heavyweight undefeated state champion. And his record this year was 42-0. Nick's also a 2-time All-American as well. And one other thing that I'd like to tell everyone, Riverdale set some history this year. We are the first school in the county to have a back-to-back state champion, and we're also the first school in the county to ever have 2 state champions in the same year. So without these guys' leadership, our young team would not have been a success this year. So thank you.
Coach, with the guys like to
If
say,
either of the fellows would like to say anything. Thank you.
and your principal, Mr. Noble, tonight. Congratulations, Mr. Noble.
And next is, you want Mr.
Mr. Spurlock, did you want to?
Introduce? Yeah.
First of all, we'd like to thank the board for recognizing our Oakland High School Lady Patriots. Our coaching staff, of course, is Scott Thomas, assistant coach, Missy Blizzard, assistant coach, Mitzi Wilson, assistant coach, and the person that gets it all taken care of is Coach Jennifer Grandstaff. At this time, I'd like to ask Coach Grandstaff to come up and introduce your team and talk a little bit about our season. Thank you.
First, I'd really like to thank Mr. Odom, Mr. Tackett for recognizing our group of young ladies. We weren't state champions, but boy, we were close. And it was a great game. It was an exciting game. Congratulations to Blackman High School. It was such a whirlwind experience, and you're on and off in a matter of 5 seconds after the ball game. But sincerely, congratulations to you and to Chad Hibden, and I wish you all the luck in your next adventure in life. At this time, I would like to call up the Lady Patriots. I'll introduce them just right down the row. Shelby Gibson. Abby Wright. Just stand right up there and look pretty.
We'll wait, we'll clap. When we
Okay.
all together.
Elena Smith. Olivia Rogers. Z. O'Neill. Aaliyah Patterson. Paris Lawson. Micah McDowell. Ansley Eubank. Hannah England. And Deja Boyd.
James, let's get the assistant coaches
Yes,
and
sir.
all with them too.
Get our assistants up. Just real quick, you know, I don't think anything would have really been possible this year. We made a great run at the end of the season if our kids didn't buy in. And our kids bought in all year long, and they really started to, our chemistry really clicked at the very end of the year. It was a remarkable finish. It was so much fun to be involved with. These ladies represent the best of Oakland High School. I mean, they're not just only competitors on the floor, but they're great student athletes as well. And I feel very fortunate to be able to coach this group of young ladies. You know, 3 groups of people I want to thank, obviously, are my players for everything that they've given to Oakland High School and our program. coaching staff. Our coaching staff goes above and beyond what's needed to succeed at our level of competition anymore. And last, I definitely want to thank Mr. Spurlock for his encouragement, his support, and for just him believing in me and my staff to allow me to continue to coach a fine group of young ladies. So thank you all so much. I think Paris Lawson would like to come up and say something as well.
On behalf of the Lady Patriots, like as a personal player, I'd like to thank the school board for recognizing us. Even though we weren't state champions, we really appreciate you taking the time out to recognize us as well. Also, I'd like to thank, on behalf of the Oakland Patriots, Blackman, for being such great competitors and, you know, good players on and off the court, and we really appreciate that. So thank you to everybody.
Actually had the opportunity to see these two teams play each other more than once this year, and great competitive spirit, and all times. See Dr. Justice tonight. I don't see right now.
Again, congratulations, ladies. Outstanding. Okay. Okay, Coach Hibden, is Dr. Justice here? Okay, if you'll please come.
We'd like to thank you guys as well for, just doing what you guys do to support student athletes. Obviously, having state runner-up, state champions in the county, Rutherford County, being a Rutherford County boy, really special moment for our county and our city. With these student athletes, both teams, just great kids. You know, having to play them a fifth time was a joy and a pain, both, because you knew it was going to be a competitive game. You knew it was going to be a competitive game in a great spirit. These players, they know each other on and off the floor, and they never allowed that to stop the competitive spirit, but they didn't allow it to make it anything more than just a basketball game and a competitive spirit in that. So thank you guys for recognizing us. Being back-to-back state champions is special for our school and our Blackman community as well, but also the Rutherford County and our coaching staff isn't here. They're in training today and doing some in-service. But without a great coaching staff and without support from your administration and without support from parents and then young ladies that believe in a vision and a purpose that we do, we would not be able to represent Rutherford County and Blackman High School in the way we do. So I have to just say thank you to those young ladies over there for an amazing journey. For them to have to battle a team that is as quality and as well coached and as disciplined and as tough as Oakland for a fifth time, it says about the perseverance. They never ever looked past any opponent. They always looked just at the next opponent. And that's why they were state champions again, because they had such a great focus and a great passion and great team unity as well. So I want to bring them up. I'm going to try to go seniors if I can get them all. Cte Williams, Angel Allen, Alex Johnson, Mimi Jackson is not here tonight. Juniors, Jazz Bond, Crystal Dangerfield, Jada Hughes, Mia Graytrex, Maya Van Zant, sophomore Taylor Freeman, and freshman Jalea Goff. So, we also had a special year this year with two Miss Basketball finalists. If Alex would step forward, and Crystal, just amazing for our program to have two Miss Basketball finalists. And Crystal being a finalist last year and being the recipient of the award this year. Just a blessing to be able to coach talented, special young ladies like all of them, and then the accolades and awards that they were presented with being a Miss Basketball finalist just kind of puts the icing on the cake for our season and our program. So I think Angel Allen would like to say a little something as well.
I wasn't prepared, but first I want to say thank you for the board to let us be here again, and also to Oakland. Thank you for competing with us, always giving us a run for our money. It was fun to play out every single time. And I just want to say thank you to my girls. Y'all are the best teammates I could ever ask for, and I love y'all so much. Thank you.
Coach, we want to wish you well in your new endeavor and for all that you've done for this county, not only as a student, but as a teacher and a coach. And again, God bless you, and we wish you well. I'm sure there's probably a board member or two that may want to say something. I can't imagine one board member not saying something. And I'm not looking at you, Mr. Hollidays.
I tell you, this is two terrific teachers, and the whole staff terrific. Mr. Tackett back there and myself, we got the opportunity to broadcast the game on statewide radio, which we have done numerous times, but we didn't think it was going to happen this year because it was on a Sunday. But he called me during Sunday school and said I needed to be there, and so we got to do the game. And he and I agreed when it was over that it was one of the best basketball games I think I've ever seen. It was terrific. I don't remember a game where so many players came in and did something great, unbelievable. It was super. Congratulations.
Ladies, if I could commend both teams for your sportsmanship and your camaraderie after the game. You know, you're both champions, and I just can't tell you how proud that this county community is of you. And again, thank you for your effort, your athleticism, but thank you for your conduct. Thank you for thank you for the sportsmanship. We do appreciate you, and we're so very proud of you. So thank you. Again, let's give them another hand.
With such a competitive, hard-fought game and such sportsmanship, I'd like to say that too. But then when you came together in the center of the floor at the end and circled up and said your prayer, it said a lot. Thank you, coaches, especially for that. Thank you.
This is an example of, we're looking at state championships in wrestling, state championships in girls basketball, and this is not out of the ordinary. We get the pleasure of being able to celebrate this time after time. But I want to make the point, I say this to faculty and administrators when I have the occasion to speak with them, but even to our students, our best and our brightest students, understand and realize that when the United States of America thinks about education and reform in education these days, they look to that race to the top winner, the state of Tennessee. And when the state of Tennessee thinks about education, when they show up in Nashville and they say, show us some of this innovative, great education that's happening, they send them to Rutherford County. And when they want to see some of the finest examples of student achievement and personal character and citizenship, we have the pleasure of putting your face on that label. Thank you for being the outstanding students and citizens that you are. It gives us great confidence for the future of our county and our state and our country. We are a pebble in the pond, and the ripples will go across this nation and throughout the world. That's where we are here in Rutherford County. We should not underestimate it.
Thank you, ladies. We're so very proud of you, gentlemen, if they're still here. So I don't know if anyone, Coaches, if you need to take a second to let your teams exit, we will, but you're welcome to stay for a very exciting board meeting.
Well, maybe not.
Be safe, ladies.
Mr. Powell is going to, I can say it.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Ms. Joyce, could we arrange for this to be as much fun in the future board meetings too? So I don't know that it gets much better than this. Thank you. Okay.
It'd be interesting to count the hits on the county website, people watching this tonight.
That may be. So, okay. Moving on to number 9, Mr. Odom.
Number 9, Mr. Powell, if Smyrna High School principal, Mr. Rick Powell, is going to come and introduce a program that's kind of one of our unique ones in Rutherford County. Again, we do things differently sometimes and step ahead and lead. So, Mr. Powell, would you talk to us about the Emergency Medical Responder course at Smyrna High School?
Well, thank you for allowing Smyrna High School to be the spotlight on education tonight. We're very proud of our programs at Smyrna High School, especially our career and technical education programs, which I feel, being biased, but I feel they're the best in the county. But we're very proud of our EMS responder course. And we're happy to have Robin Barnett here tonight. Will explain more about the program. I think she has a special guest, and we have 2 of our students here that will do some demonstrations as well. But this is part of our health science program, and with EMS, I guess if you want to talk about some life skills right there, it will definitely include it. So, Ms. Barnett, if you will come forward and introduce your guest for us.
Gotta have my bodyguards. We certainly want to thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to come and just share some of the highlights of what our students are doing at Smyrna High School. Smyrna High School is just, the Cte department, like he was saying, is absolutely phenomenal to me. I've been an educator for 13 years, 12 of that in Lawrence County, and then I've educated for St. Thomas Hospital with all of the EMS departments throughout the county for 3 years before I decided my love was back here in the high school area. So this time when I got back to teaching, I said, you know, they have an emergency medical responder course. And, you know, I got with Steve and I. This is Steve Hart. I guess I should introduce. Steve Hart from Rutherford County EMS. Then we have Emmanuel Meissen and Helman Garcia. And so Steve and I have worked together before with St. Thomas, you know, helping to teach some of our EMTs across the county or in his area. So anyway, we were fortunate enough to be able to take the basic EMS program and just, you know, raise the bar with that. And because he's an EMR instructor and he teaches the paramedic courses and things like that, we were able to take our curriculum and combine it with his curriculum and create a program that would give the students something very rigorous, very college ready, very job ready when they graduate from high school. We were, with assistance of Tyra, we were able to get our books. We were able to get the things we needed this year. It's kind of been a pilot course. The students that enrolled didn't exactly enroll knowing they were going to be put through a little more rigorous program. But it's been, as we've worked through, we've worked out the kinks. I think we have an awesome program. The students all get CPR certification to the highest level. The students get to do ride-alongs. They call him Mr. Steve. They all love him. He is excellent with the students. And it is a requirement that we have a paramedic to help teach that with the teacher. I'm a respiratory therapist, but it's a requirement that we have co-instructors for that course. So we're thankful, thank you for the board for allowing him to pilot that course with us this year, and thank you for letting his services come into the school, because
No, this year we may not have as many students to certify because we just started it, but next year we definitely are, our plan is the students that enroll will enroll for the purpose of receiving. We'll have 100% certification, we hope. Next year, of all of our students will definitely be testing. The testing part is still working out some kinks with that as we go along. Here's some of our students, pictures of them, and you can see they have fun with all of their skills. I'm going to let Steve kind of tell you a little bit about some of those skills.
Okay. Up on the top left, they're doing an eye bandage. In the middle there, she had, I guess, double amputee. She got her hand stuck in a machine or something. But down in the bottom right, back when we had the Ebola scare going on, we at the county had to don and doff different types of PPE or personal protective gear. And so they got to try some of that out to see what it felt like and what it was like to actually work in it. The one in the middle is another form of personal protective equipment, and they were just tried it on and had a little fun during class. Kind of bottom left beside the firefighter gear is a KED, and it's an extrication device we use to get people out of cars. And so they were getting each other out of a desk using the KED. I can't see. Oh, the one in the middle is learning how to do a sling and swath. But the kids have really seemed to come along and enjoy it, like Ms. Barnett said in the beginning. I don't know if they actually knew what they were getting into, but they're required to do X number of skills, and I have to, as a state instructor for EMR, I have to be there a minimum of 60 hours in order for them to be able to take the state certification test. We've talked about job opportunities. It's more in fire and police departments or in EMS. It's kind of a building block for EMS, but a lot of fire departments have responders that are with them. But it's also good business-wise because even in the school system, you have the first responder programs where you have responders that go to different codes. And so businesses are looking at that too. So it's turned out to be kind of an education for us as well as them and to what all they can get into with it.
Sorry, I forgot to give you guys a copy of this. I have a handout for you just so you can look back at it if you have any further questions or anything about it. But and this is just to tell you quickly, I think I've already covered that, but our expectation for next year is obviously now that the course is established, we, he gives them a test whenever he comes in. The kids are always like, they know they're going to have a test every day. They know they're going to be performing some skill, and but the great thing about it is they feel like they're a contributor to the community of some way, because when you are educated and you know what to do when there's an accident, or if somebody gets, you have to perform CPR, there's nothing worse than having that hopeless feeling. And employees like to know they have employers that are with them that have those qualifications and can be a part of a team and be effective in keeping their jobs safe. So, like I said, I hope maybe we have some great things to share along the way next year, and hope we will be able to show you that we have 100% completion. That's what we're shooting for. So these guys are going to they thought that they would just we're just going to let them show you a little skill. They brought their stuff. They're just going to show you guys one of their little skills. It only takes about a minute, just how quickly they could save a life through a serious arterial bleed. So he's got his...
So real quick background.
Real quick, yeah.
Yeah, just right there.
We'll put him on the floor.
He was using a chainsaw and it slipped and got a gash in his arm. We were going to have a lot of blood, but we didn't want to mess the carpet up. So he's got the arm there as an effect.
CSA. My name is Manuel. I'm an EMR. Can I help you today? Are you hurting anyone else touch your arm? No. It hurts a lot though. Are you allergic to anything? No. on any medications right now?
No.
What was the last thing you ate?
I felt.
Is there anything in your medical history that I should know about?
No.
And are there any exceptions that I should know about in general?
Not everything.
You want to tell me how this happened?
I was cutting a tree and I saw a squirrel.
I'll lay that right there. Okay, I'm gonna check you to see if anything else is wrong. Does this hurt at all?
No.
Like this?
No.
Keep back down. Good. Can you tell me if this hurts?
No.
Does that hurt?
No.
Does this hurt?
No.
Can you grab my fingers? Do you feel that? Does that hurt?
No.
Keep breathing. Breathe it out. Does that hurt?
No.
Does this hurt?
No.
Does that hurt?
No.
Does this hurt?
No.
How about that?
No.
Tell me how many of these hurt. Does that hurt?
No.
How about that?
No.
Can you look at your toes? Can you feel that?
Yes.
Does that hurt?
No.
Does this hurt?
No.
Does that hurt?
No.
Does this hurt?
No.
Can you look at your toes? Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Does that hurt?
No.
Now take the blood pressure.
For the sake of time, we didn't want him to have to do the whole thing, so, right now, he's doing the blood pressure assessment, and, what have you found, Emmanuel? What have you found in the blood pressure assessment?
80 over 40.
80 over 40, okay.
Means he's losing a lot of fluid and he's going into hypovolemic shock. You know that his feet let the blood rush all the way back to his heart. And covering because he's losing body heat. And now we look for the ambulance around.
So that was just one of those skills, and this skill that he did is something that if you go in further in the medical field, you'll start with the basics like this, and you'll use this throughout the rest of your career. And Emmanuel did an excellent job. But he's stopping the bleeding, so Hellman, I think, lived.
Well done.
Thank you so much, guys, for doing that. And thank you, board, for supporting this and for allowing us to, contract with Mr. Hart. And it was because you guys allowed us to do this that we are able to do this and give our students the opportunity to be able to learn. And, they did a phenomenal job. So thank you very much.
Can I ask a quick question? On ambulances, they have EMTs and paramedics, right?
We do.
How does this stack up with an EMT, the certification?
It's before an EMT certification. You don't have to have the EMR certification to become an EMT. EMT, the state changed it this past year, and EMR is the starting level for fire departments, police departments, and that kind of thing. It gives basic first aid, CPR. As an EMT, you go into further assessment, further causes of injuries and accidents and treatment for those. And as an EMT advanced, you begin starting IVs. And then as a paramedic, you do more cardiac intervention and recognize and give certain drugs depending on what part of the state or country you're in. And then basic first aid, basic life support type thing. And they're there for the treatment before transport.
Buddy?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Good job. Paul, did you have a question or anything?
Just as they're on their way out, I'm going to share this. This is one of those things that's a life changer because this is a life skill that you guys have the option. Don't have to go this way. But as I'm thinking about this, at 18, you can go out and get a job. And the nature of this job is shift work that allows you to be able to, grab the classes, maybe a little lower course load over at MTSU or at Motlow or wherever here in the community. And whether or not you continue, this is a life skill that will always be a benefit to you. And it's going to pay you enough to be able to cover school. And here's the life-changing part, graduate with a degree in anything, in whatever you want to do, without that student loan debt. And that's what career and technical training can really do in our schools, and it's such a valuable asset because 18-year-olds can go out there and get real jobs where municipalities or corporations are doing tuition reimbursement. It opens up a world of possibilities for you guys. Congratulations for having the foresight to be able to sign up for a class and set the mark for those that will come behind you.
Thank you. Okay. I think we're moving to number 10.
Number 10 is the Memorandum of Understanding with St. Thomas Medical Partners and St. Thomas Rutherford Hospital for mobile health services, and I believe Ms. Kathy Farrell is with us tonight. This follows up really well with the last
It follows up fantastic, and Paul and I were talking, I was running late coming from Birmingham from a St. Thomas leadership retreat, and you're in the right place at the right time with the right people. You just have to be open to that. And my husband and I are both products of Rutherford County Schools. We have 3 children in the school system right now, one at Riverdale and one at Christiana Middle and one at Barfield. And so I'm so glad I was here for this. What amazing humility on the part of those student athletes, what exceptional leadership from the coaching staff and the administration, and then how innovative, I love what you said, how innovative the programming is here, and I could not be more proud that my children go to our neighborhood schools and are a part of this school system. So what a great segue into what we do. And I think for us, what this school system and you all also allow here is for great community resources to bring those resources to bear on your school campuses. And I think that's what this agreement is all about. So for the past 5 years, we've provided basic medical services and behavioral health care through a mobile outreach program, which is part of St. Thomas Rutherford's hospital core strategy in terms of our care of the poor and community benefit. So in other words, for us, access is important. We don't care who you are, if you have money, if you don't, if you have insurance, if you don't, we're going to make sure that you have the exam that you need, the immunizations that you need, the sports physical that you need to be in the school building on time and ready to learn, or be on that athletic field and ready to play and participate. And so this past year, I didn't break down the numbers as much as I wanted to, but over 8,000 patient encounters. I'm so glad Steve left, I think, but Steve actually certified my team of EMTs. They're all firemen, and he certified them to be CPR instructors. So we do some work around that. We do CPR in the schools. We do support of Kim Snell. I know Mike's here. We support her poverty simulations by staffing that, and Kim's actually been generous enough to come into the hospital and do some of that work with the school nurses at both school systems together, and that's such an invaluable experience, and we're thrilled to be able to support that. This particular agreement, we've been able to partner, it's been our privilege to partner with the Primary Care and Hope Clinic, which is a federally qualified healthcare clinic here in Rutherford County, before we owned our own charity clinic. Well, we own our own charity clinic now, and that clinic is able to see birth through the grave, and we are also happy to say that as of July 1st, that clinic will be a site for student residents as a part of the UT Family Medical Residency Program. We have a second unit. We've just been given a second unit, so we operate 2. So we're looking forward to expanding, seeing more of your children, but we will also have the capability to see your entire family, We've just been able to provide services at a pediatric level. But if a child doesn't have insurance and there's an issue there, then I guarantee the whole family system is probably struggling. So to be able to bring those resources to bear out in the community with the schools being a hub of service for us, we're so thrilled about. And so this memorandum is about the partnership being between the school system allowing us to be on the campuses, our clinic, and then of course St. Thomas Rutherford Hospital. So thank you all very much for your support. Do you have any questions? I do want to say, and I know they're not here, but Paula, thank you so much for your support. I mentioned the building level folks are amazing, but Sarah Delbridge is second to none in terms of her role as director of nursing here. Tommy Barrett, Karen Metter, and I mentioned Kim Snell are phenomenal. So your school social workers, your nursing teams, everybody that are your support staff in those buildings are amazing. And we're so grateful to be able to partner with them and help them serve the students and their families to the best of their ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
And we didn't have a.
okay. Thank you. So moved. Is that Mr. Hodge? Okay. Second by Mr. Young. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries. Good. We'll continue with the MOU. Number 11.
Number 11 is the CPR and first aid training. We can kind of continue our health theme. Okay. Mr. Tim Tackett, Athletic Director, and Brad Rolling, Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance and Rutherford County Schools trainer, have addressed the importance of CPR and first aid certification for coaches and sponsors in our system, and recommend approval. The motion is to approve the board require 50% of each athletic activity staff be certified both in CPR and first aid as of August 1, 2015. By June 1st, 2016, all members of the athletic activity staff would be required to be certified in both. These courses are offered at no cost through the Rutherford County Schools School Station. School Station is our in-service alignment. Athletics would be defined as all Tennessee Secondary School Athletic Association and Tennessee Middle School School Athletic Association sanctioned sports, including swimming. Activities would then be defined as marching band and junior ROTC.
Heard the recommendation?
So moved.
Mr. Holliday? And Mr. Hodge?
Mr. Tackett's here to talk about it if
Tackett's
you want
here.
to know
If
more
the
about it.
board pleases to hear anything further? Talked about some Tuesday night.
You know, it just brings to mind the circumstance that we had a little over a year ago now where we, at John Coleman Elementary, where a student participating in a run suddenly had a heart condition, and the swift action of the administrator and the SRO there brought that child, from a no heartbeat back with us. We need this kind of testing. Mr. Tackett, applause for leading us to make sure that it's in place and have the accountability measures to account for it.
Yep. Consider yourself patted on the back, Mr. Tackett.
I also want to give recognition to our nursing staff, which does much of this training. So Ms. Delbridge, which was Ms. Farrell mentioned, and our nursing staff, which conducts the CPR training. So that's why we can do much of this at no additional cost, because our employees have this certification to train others in dealing with that. So that's a good move for us.
Anybody else? Okay. We've had a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Tackett. Number 12.
Number 12 is a special courses request. The instruction department is requesting permission to make an application to offer credit for the following career technical education special courses under the following guidelines. The Rule 0520-1-3-.05-2A, local school systems may offer special courses not listed in 520-1-3-.06 on an experimental basis. The Commissioner of Education must approve each course in advance each year. After 3 years, the course may become permanent part of the local school program upon approval of the State Board of Education. After 3 years, the special course request must be resubmitted if the teacher listed on the application changes. The courses are Introduction to Audio Production, Stewart's Creek High School, Audio Recording, Stewart's Creek High School, and Event Audio at Stewart's Creek High School. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve Rutherford County making application for the new CTE special courses to be offered in the named school in the 2015-16 as presented.
The recommendation?
So move.
Mr. Jordan? And Mr. Estes. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The 13.
13 is the textbook adoption report. It's ED 5099 and textbook certificate of adoption report ED 2153. School systems are required to submit textbook adoptions annually on forms provided by the Tennessee Department of Education. All textbooks are adopted on a 6-year cycle. The local textbook adoption report shows newly adopted textbooks for 2015, and the textbook adoption includes the K-12 math, which was the focus for this year. We recommend approval. The motion is to approve the textbook adoption report ED 5099 and the certificate of adoption report ED 2153 as presented, and this would adopt all of the state's approved mathematics textbooks to be reviewed and brought back to you at a later date when we actually select which ones align best with the standards.
So moved.
Mr. Holliday? Second. Mr. Young? Further discussion?
I would point out that we talked about this in our work session, and the procedural nature of what we're doing tonight in adopting all of those textbooks, because there is a disconnect between what may become the state standard for mathematics versus what is the state standard as we sit here this evening. So it's very much our effort to make sure that our textbooks are aligned, and we'll come back and revisit this. We discussed Tuesday night in the neighborhood of October, or somewhere in that range, and the same committee that we appointed that is made up of not only experts in the field and teachers, but also parents, will stay in place to help us with that review process moving forward.
Anybody else? Okay. We've had a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, we had this book to look over. Does anybody have any further? Mr. Clardy is gone, but Mr. Odom is still here. So, any comments? I really did not realize, Mr. Odom, that we had quite this many auxiliary buildings. So at least they're all accounted for. So,
Mr. Clardy is going to the commission because we do have forwarded from the Budget and Finance Committee the funding for the design and for the site preparation for the new schools in Smyrna off of Rocky Fork. And so he was going to be there to make sure. And Jeff Sandvig is also up there tonight.
I did the calculations this morning when I was looking back over this. Mr. Clardy told us 250,000 square feet of roof that is not a school building. And that's what this folder shows us. And what we're concerned about is the maintenance of that. And what I did was I calculated 520 square feet for a football field. That's nearly 500 football fields of roofing is what we're talking about around the county of non-classroom, non-school building roofs. The maintenance is a challenge.
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
The only thing I would like to throw out there is maybe look at an evaluation process as time goes on. 'Cause some of these buildings are looking like we don't want to spend the money to put a roof on. So I think we need to develop some kind of evaluation process and see what point do we discard it, not put any money into.
Number 15 are student discipline appeals. You have 2 of those this evening. The board has been requested to review the March 25th, 2015 decision of the Disciplinary Hearing Authority, the DHA, to uphold the remandment of a student from Oakland High School to Daniel McKee Alternative School for disorderly conduct, insubordinate behavior, and verbal altercations. This review is pursuant to board policy. The board may, number 1, may affirm the decision of the Disciplinary Hearing Authority, overturn the decision of the Disciplinary Hearing Authority, or 3, modify the decision of the Disciplinary Hearing Authority to a lesser penalty, except in cases of zero tolerance, or grant a second hearing, which would be before the board, or 5, deny a request for a board hearing.
I move to affirm.
Second.
Motion to affirm and a second. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? B.
B, the board has been requested to review the April 10th, 2015 decision of the Disciplinary Hearing Authority, the DHA, to uphold the expulsion of a student from Rockville Middle School. This review is pursuant to board policy. The board may affirm the decision of the DHA, overturn the decision of the DHA, grant a second hearing, which would be before the board, or deny a request for a board hearing.
Okay, affirmed by Mr. Hodge,
Second.
second by Mr. Young. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. Number 16, insurance. We've talked at length about that. That there's a strong probability that that will be voted on by the commission this evening. But if anybody has a comment or wants to continue the discussion, now is the time. Hearing none, we will move on to number 17, which is all the things that are going through the General Assembly right now. And Mr. Hodge is our Tennessee Legislative Network representative. And
Mr. Hodge, I have placed before each one of them what we had Tuesday evening. Plus, I have some handwritten notes because it's interesting. Many things have happened to those bills since Tuesday evening. So the ones that are marked in this, some are already law signed by the governor. Others are waiting the governor's signature. Others are scheduled for additional votes. So I did make some notes on the ones we had marked on those.
I appreciate that because I was fixing to pass it back to you because I've been out of pocket all day and sort of behind. If you want to say behind on fact finding, so if you've got any further comments on this, I need to check emails today or anything to see if anything else is even from TSCA and are you aware of anything else?
There was one that I did forward to you and made a copy of tonight. We did receive another communication from TOS about Senate Bill 27, House Bill 138. This is bank accounts for families with certain IEP students. And this was the bill for the vouchers for students under an IEP that we kind of had thought was not, maybe it still is active, but it is very much so, based upon what we have learned today. And that may be scheduled for a vote as early as even tomorrow. But it's been done in some other states. I think one of the most interesting things to me is the second page about what Florida has experienced this since for a while, and there's a 2014 report about how this actually played out in Florida. And I guess the thing as an educator that concerns me is I envision the growth of some organizations that will say, bring us your child and we're going to handle this disability or something. There's no certification for the people doing it. There's no follow-up for this to see that the students are being tested, or is it working or not working for the students. And my concern is for the students. for a student that has a disability, then place them possibly in a program that doesn't have a certification or doesn't have follow-up, is not a good precedent for the students. But this one certainly concerns me as much as anything that's in the legislature this year. You may have noticed that it's a wide open bill. I put a star there kind of in the middle. According to the State Department of Education figures, 99,694 students could qualify for the IEA bank accounts under the categories allowed. So we're not talking about a small number of students. This is very, very different than some of the original voucher and charter bills. This was one of the, there's a number of charter and voucher bills that we're going through, and this was the one. When we met with our legislators back early on before the session started, they were talking in terms about some states were doing kind of portability with with the monies that go to special education. And so this apparently is a result of that. And Toss said today it looks like it's a done deal in the Senate. The House is still debating whether this is a good idea or not. So I think that's where we stand.
We know for sure that it's not a good idea.
Anybody else have any comments on any of them? Or?
Well, thank you for providing us with, gave us an opportunity to look at them, since Tuesday too. And certainly our backs are against the wall on several of these things that they're being passed above our objections.
Well, the unfortunate thing with a lot of the stuff that they're passing is there's no reason for it, and it's just a good way to put it, just to try to get out of the public education a bit. And I think that's the direction a lot of public education is doing. Is not only passing it on, but they're also working to pass the buck more back to the LEAs also. So just have to keep fighting it.
The bullet on the second page, ongoing concerns, just for people that's listening to us, maybe on television tonight, there are no licensing or accreditation requirements for participating schools paid for by IEA funds. In other words, this would be things that pop up to receive these children. There's no accreditations or licensing requirements. I don't think you could do that in the health field and receive money. So why are we doing it in the education field?
I guess too, this would, they could also look at doing away with CTE programs and sports programs. If we got charter schools and voucher implemented, public school system would not function as we know it as today. I don't know that a lot of people understand that we're losing a lot of control here as a taxpayer over how we want our kids to be educated. We will have no say so. That's just very disappointing for me, and I hope it is for our constituents out there. I hope they're listening and realizing how critical this is.
This is special education students, what we're really talking about. Some of your more at-risk students is people that have gone to school for years to learn how to try to address those needs and programs in place to address it. And from our social workers to our teachers in the building to our nurses and all of the things that go with these programs, you hand somebody some money and say, well, go see if you can find something to address that need. And I just do not understand it.
I think we're all perplexed. Thank you, Mr. Hodge. You have. It's difficult to follow all of this legislation and what kind of buds out of it. So thank you for your effort. Mr. Holliday, any news on the federal level?
Big news today. Senator Alexander has successfully passed the what he calls every child. Let me see. I've got it around here somewhere. Pardon me. Well, it's Reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. He's got an acronym for it. Every child achieves in education, I believe is what he's calling it. He introduced this some time ago as a working draft. It was formally introduced on Tuesday of this week, debated Tuesday, Wednesday, and today in the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee in the Senate. Late this afternoon on a 22-0 vote, a unanimous vote, everyone in the committee passed that bill to the Senate floor. And the next anticipated debate would be sometime in mid-May on the Senate floor for this piece of legislation. It's long overdue. This is what would take the place of the waivers that we're currently in and we've been in since 2007. You know, the expectations of No Child Left Behind were that no child, without regard of what their special needs might be, would be left behind. Every child would be expected to graduate. That's a worthy goal. Doesn't really seem to be practical. And so we've been left in a place of getting waivers, and that has precipitated the overreach from the federal government in negotiating those waivers by appointed unelected officials. Along with those waivers, we've seen the Race to the Top program. We've seen the Common Core controversy. We've seen all of those things happen as a result of the inaction of Congress, because they did not reauthorize the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, and the standards of No Child Left Behind were no exceptions, everybody graduates 100%. Therefore, almost every school in the country is a failing school. Well, that penalty portion of the legislation was what precipitated the waivers and that federal overreach. So it's absolutely important that the Congress pass something. It's notable that this has come out of committee with unanimous consent, both parties agreeing. And it's done that because it's a very carefully written piece of legislation that is open, and it does not get into the controversial topics. Each of those controversial topics, testing, accountability, evaluations for teachers, all of those have had to be read into the legislation as an amendment. And Senator Alexander explained that the reason for this is so we know exactly who introduced it, who voted for it, who voted against it, and if we've got a problem with it as a constituent, we can speak to that person individually. By doing it this way, he's been able to actually allow the senators to perform legislation, to actually make some progress in what has been characterized for a decade or more as a gridlocked Washington. I think that it's notable that our senator from Tennessee is accomplishing this. I think that it will be important that something be put in place to replace what the public is clear they don't support, what many educators have said it's just kind of impractical, which is No Child Left Behind. Not to mention, though, it is a worthy goal. I was listening, though, to what we were talking about here with this special education program at the state level. Imagine this, that this piece of legislation, one of the things it restores is if you are profoundly disabled, you're exempt from testing. Right now, in Rutherford County schools, we have students who cannot grasp a pencil in their hand, and they are required to do TCAP testing. Required to do TCAP testing, and they cannot grasp a pencil in their hand because of some profound disability. Well, this legislation that Senator Alexander is putting forward, it will make a pathway to exception. You don't have to do that. You qualify for being exempted from the mandatory testing, and it would allow for something like that. However, if you couple that with a private entity that says, oh, by the way, and we have all of the money that was attributed to that student, and we'll take that student and no longer take the very high ideal of we're going to give them some level of life skills, we're going to prepare them somehow to be a productive member of society, but we're just going to house them. Because, as Mr. Odom has pointed out, we have no accreditation. We have no burden of training or anything like that. We're just going to take care of these special needs circumstances. There's an opportunity there for some abuse of the circumstances, and that's why it's important that we pay attention to all of these things that are going on. Amendments that were put in. There was a specific amendment for computer adaptive testing. Some forward-thinking LEAs, local education associations, have developed and made use of computer programs that say, do you know the answer to this question? If they do know that, they move on to the next skill. They move up, and the computer adapts to what the skill level of that student is. And it really zeroes in on what they do. And so if that student might be sitting in a 6th grade classroom, but they're reading at a 3rd grade level, we understand that quickly, and we can target them and move them to their grade level. At the same time, if they're in a 6th grade classroom and they're reading at an 8th grade level, we can assess them at that level. And so now the assessments not only are accomplishing what we need as far as reporting, but they're really getting us information about what that student is doing and what the next step is to stretch that muscle and make it stronger. Teach that child and help them. There was also an amendment for parental control. It specifically says that any parent can opt out of anything that we're talking about here at any time with absolutely no penalty. Now, it's specific to federal. It's specific to the federal guidelines, but one of the amendments that was written in was parents will have the option. Now, we hope that parents will be a part of the collective that allows us to be able to accomplish synergistic results and do more because we're doing it together. There are measures of scale in education that we can accomplish. But if you take exception to something along the way, the senators have heard you, and they say, we're going to make sure that the language is clear. You can opt out at no penalty. That's important to note. CTE reporting, because of the critical nature of CTE, they're going to include CTE reporting. We've been doing that anyway at a state level, but they want to see at a federal level. Some of the programs that we're accomplishing higher graduation results because students are engaged in ROTC, they're engaged in these emergency medical classes or something like that, and therefore they accomplish the goal of graduation. They want to be able to assess that at the federal level. Then there were amendments, lots of amendments that were presented in committee, they were discussed in committee, and then withdrawn. One of those amendments was an amendment for the portability of Title I funds. This is federal vouchers, if you will. It was put forward by Senator Scott from South Carolina. It was openly supported by Chairman Alexander, and then it was withdrawn, and the clear intent is that it would be reintroduced on the Senate floor. I talked with Senator Corker's office today, and Senator Corker's office held out the possibility that even though our senators have a kind of a tradition, if you will, of moving in step with one another and cooperating with one another, Senator Corker is not necessarily in support of vouchers. And I think that we should pay special attention to that and make sure that he hears from us clearly. Though Senator Alexander has expressed clear support for federal vouchers, he thinks that that's a good method. Senator Corker is not necessarily mind made up on that. One last thing. In that issue of vouchers, because sometimes we have a responsibility to explain to our constituents how is this affecting, why is this being brought up, and what justifies these decisions. It seems that the justification for vouchers at the federal level is to compare it to a Pell Grant, which is a federal grant for higher education, beyond secondary education for college. And those Pell Grants are used by students to go anywhere they want to. The difference is, and one senator pointed this out in committee, that a student who is going to higher education is doing so as an 18-year-old adult. They can make that decision and go anywhere they want to. Whereas the minor child, which is our focus, the under 18 student, that student needs to find in their neighborhood an excellent educational opportunity. Everywhere you live, there should be an excellent educational opportunity. That's the way to improve public education, is to invest in public education. That's the way, as opposed to taking resources away from public education and allowing public dollars to go to private entities and personal agendas. That's my report.
Any questions?
One thing there you mentioned, Mr. Holliday, I don't think it's the child's responsibility to find that education. I think that's the parent's responsibility to find that education in that community. Parents should be involved, and they should know what schools are suitable for their children, and they should be able to locate those children where school that is. We discussed before and had some disagreements about outside of board meetings that people can't go to the schools they want to go to. All you gotta do is move. If you want to go to a certain school, you move in that school zone. Some people disagree with that. They think they need to take their child to whatever school they want to take them to. I just don't understand why we can't just move into whatever school zone they'd like to go to.
You know, we started out with such an uplifting meeting with the choir and all these state champions, and then we get to talk about legislation for, yeah. So that's just the nature of the meeting, I guess. We're at the general discussion portion of our meeting. Mr. Hodge.
I come in late, so I don't know if this was covered or not. I see we've got the RCS recruitment fair next Saturday, correct? I'd like to, and I noticed it's at Mr. Nolan's school, Riverdale, so as a change. I've been, I guess 4 or 5 years, I guess, and I would encourage the board, any of you that want to go to it. It's something to see where they set their displays up, and it's a good chance to go around and see the principals, that see them all in one place. So I was just looking at this and thought that I'd just pass that on. If you get time to maybe take a spin over, and if you get there, I'll give you a word of advice. If you get there at 8:30 or whatever the case is, and they're lined up, just don't get in the front of the line, because they're coming, aren't they, Miss Barnes?
Yeah.
They're in pursuit of these jobs.
The times I've gone, there's always been an exceptional turnout. Fortunately, we seem to have enough parking for everybody. So, but
Which building, where will it be set up? That might.
it's high schools and middle schools together, and then elementary schools in a separate. budget. That's a good reminder. Our next meeting is it Tuesday? It's a special call budget, which may not be as much fun as we had tonight, but it's certainly a necessary process.
Going around the internet today is that the BEP estimate that we received Saturday was incorrect, and there may even be another BEP estimate tomorrow. A bunch of when the state sent it out, may have left students off because they were districts saying we've lost 25 teachers from where we are this year, you know, stuff like that. So evidently there were some errors in the estimate that Mr. Sanvey and I received Saturday. So we'll see if a new one comes out tomorrow. I don't know.
Sir, I want to congratulate Roy Waldron Elementary on a great production of Cinderella. The drama department there at Roy Waldron Elementary is not an academic pursuit. It's very much a extracurricular, teachers going above and beyond what we asked them to do and putting forth the extra effort. The board and the county commission are supporting that with the expansion at Roy Waldron Elementary that will include a stage. I want to thank Laverne Middle for always offering their stage for Roy Waldron to be able to put these things on. But, you know, it's important to have something like drama and other arts programs because sometimes you have a child who can't even imagine the possibility that someday they could play the role of a doctor or play the role of a lawyer or play the role of the judge. And it's only in, you know, the mind of an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old that you give them this dramatic performance and allow them to let their imagination meet the possibilities of what's inside of them. And that's sometimes what the arts do, and I want to congratulate Roy Waldron for investing in that way.
Thank you. Anybody else?
You wish to close with some humor, Mr. Chairman?
Certainly.
My grandson, as everyone knows, is at Eagleville. This is not a baseball report.
Okay.
He texted me a picture yesterday of after baseball practice looking through the Eagleville parking lot at all the cars and trucks and so forth, and approximately 5 cows that were wandering down through the parking lot. And being my grandson, of course, he entitled it something, "No Livestock Left Behind."
That's okay. Well, we certainly know where he got his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? All minds at ease, as Chairman Wise used to say. We'll gather back here again on at 5 o'clock on Tuesday for the budget. And everybody to look over the budget and be well versed, because we'll be chatting about it. So, okay. Safe going home, and we stand adjourned.